Thank you for joining me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. Thank you for all your kind comments and being part of this weather community. All right, let's get right to this. This here is very powerful major Hurricane Milton. Winds are about 155 right now, Category 4, almost a Category 5. I do believe it will become a Category 5 hurricane. This thing really exploded over the last 24 hours, no doubt, from when I joined you, right? It has really kind of created its own environment here. This is a bad situation and a little wobble to the south. So I'm going to zoom in on the Yucatan Peninsula first. I want to show you the expected winds across the northern sections of the Yucatan Peninsula, really the whole Yucatan Peninsula. This will stay north of Cuba, and then this is going to drive its way close to the Tampa area and make landfall as we get into Wednesday evening. Please, I can't stress enough, this is a very life-threatening situation across parts of Florida where this moves on shore. If you're asked to leave, that means you're in a terrible spot. If somebody's asking you to leave your home, leave. Just do so. Listen to the authorities along the west coast of Florida if you are asked to leave. And as we get into central Florida, this is going to move right over. WFTV.com is now live streaming. I'll put a link to that. That will be your county by county resource in Central Florida on WFTV, and I'll be live on there as we work our way into tomorrow, tracking this system as it continues to progress in. So again, good resources for you as we track this, trying to keep you as covered as possible. But unfortunately, there's really been no good news over the last 24 hours. It has progressed. It's gotten worse for sure as far as the intensity of this. Remember, track is easier to forecast. Intensity is very tricky. Now, I've made some changes to this, not really big changes from what I showed you several days ago. I have upped the winds. I've barely tweaked the track on this. So again, everything I've been showing you has been on track, except the winds now look to be even higher. And you can see it right now near Category 5 strength. It should be near Category 5 strength. 4 or 5 over the next at least 24 hours. There should be a little weakening before this makes landfall near Sarasota up through Tampa Bay, but that is all relative. When you're starting with a Category 5 and you're going down to a Category 3, we're still talking a major hurricane, right? So major hurricane landfall near the Tampa area moving into the west coast. Still could be down a little closer to Fort Myers, more likely north of there, closer to Tampa, and then working right across the peninsula of Florida, right across central Florida as a hurricane and emerging off the Space Coast still as a hurricane. Now, my friends in the northern Bahamas, it looks like the heaviest weather will be to the north, but I'll show you on Thursday and even Friday, we're going to get some gusty winds, and then it will be a tropical storm out here. And I want to get into Bermuda. There's a couple areas that could eventually impact Bermuda. So that landfall later on Wednesday. My track is in line with even what the National Hurricane Center is showing. They have issued widespread hurricane watches out for much of the peninsula of Florida. More of that's going to be expanding, and a hurricane warning has been issued by the authorities back into Mexico right along the northern edges of the Yucatan. That's for good reason. This has wobbled. The core of this will still stay just offshore, what I was showing you yesterday, but the intensity, it's gotten stronger. It's been a little wobble to the south, so we're going to at least see the tropical storm winds moving in. And you can see here the intensity on this thing. Winds are 155 miles per hour right now, so we're looking at close to 250 kilometers an hour. In that, when you're dealing with winds around 150 to 160, the gusts are around 200 miles per hour. Now, I'm hoping it will eventually weaken a little bit before moving to Florida, no doubt. But those are the gusts. That's some incredible stuff right there. Very close to Category 5. It is going to eventually clip Category 5 kind of a criteria as we go forward. Now, we get a look at the wind forecast. Let's start where this is going first. Again, this is going to skirt by the northern coast. And here are some of the winds that we can expect. Now, as you get over toward Merida, some of the winds will be around 70 miles per hour or 110 kilometers an hour. Now, if you're right on the water, though, right on the water, they could be higher. We could have some of the winds gusting over 80 miles per hour. So again, hurricane gusts are possible, the extreme northern sections. You get over toward Campeche, not as much. Winds at 45 or 65 kilometers an hour. Heaviest weather will be to the north, extreme northern zones. Even in Cancun, we could get some gusts around 70 miles per hour or 110 kilometers an hour as well. Heaviest would be just to the north, swinging up toward the Gulf of Mexico. So I wanted to start here first. Again, getting clipped by tropical storm or even hurricane conditions, extreme northern sections of the Yucatan. So thank you for spreading the word about that so everyone is safe as this passes by later today and tomorrow. Across the Yucatan. You see the wind field right there. That is the wind field that is going to clip by the northern sections of the Yucatan. The wind field is really going to expand. So that takes care of what's going on first, kind of the immediate concern. The next concern is this big surge as this works in. Where this makes landfall, and just to the north of it, but especially to the south of it, there's going to be a significant surge. That is an abnormal rise in the water that is going to move in, and it's going to inundate the coastline here. Now, unfortunately, this coastline still has piles of debris they're working to remove. This coastline has gotten hit so hard by Hurricane Helene just days ago, pretty much, as that worked its way up to the Big Bend and then did that devastation up toward the Carolinas and parts of Georgia, even parts of Tennessee. But a surge here of about 5 to 10 feet. Where it comes on shore, very close to the Tampa Bay area, there could be a surge of 8 to 12 feet. That is a life-threatening surge right in through there. So again, if you are asked to leave, that's no joke stuff, right? We don't mess around with this. I don't like storms. I do not hype storms. I'm telling you, again, where this comes on shore, it is going to be a very bad situation. That's why you don't want to be there. You don't want to be near the water as you get that abnormal rise of water as it moves in. Models pretty much in track. Again, just taking this right across the peninsula of Florida. Look how close they come. They keep the core of it, though, off the northern end of the Yucatan and then work their way very close to the Tampa, Sarasota area, St. Petersburg, Anna Maria Island may take a direct hit from this. Bradenton watching that coming right on shore. And at this point, the wind field will expand. So the entire peninsula of Florida will be dealing with tropical storm or hurricane conditions. And then as we work our way into the Bahamas, at that point, it's going to be a big wind field. There'll be some tropical storm conditions. Northern Bahamas, we're going to get some gusty winds Thursday, Friday. Freeport over toward New Providence, got you covered. And then as this system kind of works off, there could even, some of it may try to hang together where we could get some gustier winds down the road for Bermuda. So the models, I mentioned I don't always look at the models, I look at the environmental conditions. The models have been off, and I want to show you why in a moment as far as the intensity goes. That's not uncommon though. The intensity is so hard to forecast for both me and the computers. And you can see here right now the models have it initializing as a Category 3, but this is closer already to a Category 5 hurricane. So at least the next day or so, we're looking at a Category 4, Category 5, and then I'm hoping slightly less before it makes a landfall near the Tampa area. American model, European model in very good agreement. Now, whether it makes landfall to the south or more to the north, it's still going to move right across the peninsula. So the peninsula of Florida is not escaping this. Landfall, according to the American model, very close to the Tampa area with winds of 125 miles per hour. Very similar, the European model. European model may be a touch to the south. Winds, though, 120 to 125. So looking at that major hurricane and then a tropical storm or hurricane sitting offshore as it passes by. So here's the American model, just to give you a feel of the rain. You can see it here, the core of it right here, and you see how it just kind of nudges by, scraping by the northern coastline as we work our way into later today across parts of Mexico. Then as we get deeper into our Tuesday, this is Tuesday morning, you see it right there. Cuba, we're going to be okay. If you have friends, family in Cuba, this is going to stay to the north of Cuba. Look at all this rain out ahead of it. I'll show you the European model in just a moment. Tons of rain out ahead of it, like what happened with Helene up into the Carolinas. A lot of rain out ahead of it. Really bad news. Ground is already saturated, setting the stage for a lot of flooding. Then as we get into Tuesday evening, 9 o'clock on Tuesday, you see it here, and then going out on time, this is 9 on Wednesday morning. At that point, it is going to be a major, powerful hurricane still, and then the heaviest weather starts to work in throughout the day on Wednesday across the peninsula of Florida. The American model is a little bit more to the north, but it does show that landfall right near the Tampa Bay area. It really hasn't changed much over the last couple days as far as the landfall, give or take. We'll see where it comes on shore, but a very large system moving right across central Florida, impacts in North Florida, and some of that rain into extreme southeastern sections of Georgia and the Carolinas. And you see the Bahamas. Now, while the core of this would be to the north by the time we get into Thursday, this is going to be a broad spin out here, which means we're going to get some gusty winds, and which I'll be able to show you in a second. Now, this takes more of a northern route. We'll see how this takes place. Most of the models have this kind of hook off a little bit more to the east. This is a bit down the road, kind of what happens longer term with that. But here's the immediate concern with those winds, and you see some of these brighter colors showing up, that green shading there. There's actually that green shading in there. Those are the major category force winds of at least 125 miles per hour, 200 kilometers an hour. This model is underdone. It's not picking up on how strong it is. That's why I caution the model. Sometimes the models are too strong and it goes the other way and people use that as hype. This time the models are actually showing a weaker scenario, and we know they're a little bit off because this sucker has winds right now of near 160 miles per hour. But you see it nonetheless. You see here, this is by Wednesday morning. The wind field expands. That white shading right there, the tropical storm force winds really expand. The hurricane force winds expand. So a big wind maker as this moves in, of course, with the rain as well. This is by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, just about landfall into the west coast of Florida. Should be landfall around sunset or just after that, and we'll see which county it does eventually move into, and then it will be working in overnight right through central Florida. Hurricane conditions in central Florida. It's coming right at central Florida, and then it will work its way eventually off the coast as we get into Thursday morning. But you see, once again, a broad spin. So here we are in the Bahamas, right? We're going to get some gustier winds. Heaviest weather does stay to the north. The seas are going to be a mess. But in the Bahamas, central, southern Bahamas, good shape, northern Bahamas, really gusty winds as we work our way even into Friday. This is Friday. Look at this big swirl out there. Very dangerous seas. And some of those winds, while they're not going to be a major hurricane, it won't be a major hurricane at that point, even some of those winds are eventually going to find Bermuda as we get deeper into the forecast. Here's a look at the latest run of the European model here. So here's Cuba, Jamaica, Cayman Islands. Get over toward Belize here. Here's Mexico, the Yucatan right in here to show you the coastline here. Here's that rain, Bahamas, Florida, out ahead of it. European model, very similar to the American model, which is good because, again, we can prepare for it. I'm not seeing a whole lot of surprises with this other than how strong it's gotten, no doubt, over the last couple of days. But here's the European model, a couple little wobbles to the south, and if it wobbles a little bit more to the south, those winds could be higher in Merida, and that's why I wanted you to get the word out. So thank you for doing that. That's why I do this channel. You could subscribe or not subscribe. Just do it for safety. So thank you for getting the word out. Here's a look at Cuba. This will stay to the north of Cuba. It's important to tell you where it's going, also where it's not going, so you could lower some of your anxiety. Cuba, we're going to be in good shape, but watching the Yucatan very closely. Here's the front in here. Why is it going this way? The front is grabbing it, having it go this way. With that said, this is a rare spot for a hurricane to form. I think it was about 14. Since 1851, only 14 named systems have formed in this area and then have shot this way. You do get a lot of development in the Gulf, but moving this way is highly unusual, kind of forming here and moving this way. It's happened before, but it's very unusual. Watching this little spin too, some of this rain out of Florida, that's why I mentioned Bermuda. We may see some heavier rain by Wednesday, even another tropical system trying to spin up. I won't lose sight of that. But you see here, this is going to be a major hurricane rolling right into the Tampa area, but a large system, so impacts North Florida, even some tropical storm conditions in South Florida and the Florida Keys. Not as much. Florida Keys, worse weather will be staying to the north. Then this rolls in as we get into Wednesday night. Here's Thursday. This is later in the day Thursday. It's showing, the European model is showing a hurricane still just off the space coast of Florida and just to the north of the Bahamas. Still a hurricane at that point. All the intensity with this has risen. It's very strong. It's going to stay a hurricane as it moves across Florida. Could still be a hurricane, and then eventually, sometime on Friday, trying to transition to a tropical storm. Now, here's what's going on. Here's why this thing has gotten stronger. I mentioned the wind shear for days and days, how that would be a key in this thing, and I was hoping that would be our saving grace. It may still be in the end. We'll see. But this is the wind shear right here. See this red shading here? I know this map. It's crazy, but here's the system right here. Here is Milton. Here's the Yucatan. The wind shear, this red shading, is to the north of it. The wind shear is good because it knocks apart the systems. That's a good thing. We like that, but the wind shear is too far away from it. So this is just soaking up a nice environment for it. Nice, again, in the bad sense of it. It's not being impacted by wind shear as of now. That's why with the warm water, the environment is conducive for strengthening. That's why this thing blew up into almost a Category 5 hurricane. But as we work our way into Wednesday, this is Wednesday, the system's right here approaching Florida. It will start to get tied into some of that wind shear. So I'm really hoping it will go down at least a notch or two. But still a very major hurricane as it makes landfall. I'm just hoping somehow this wind shear is worse than what we're seeing and it knocks it down further. But once it gets closer to Florida, there should be some wind shear. I'm just hoping that wind shear does a number on this thing. We'll wait and see. But at this point, full preparation mode ongoing across much of the peninsula of Florida as a hurricane. Dangerous ones moving in. And we still have that hot pocket of water. Even though there's going to be wind shear, the water temperatures are warm. And this is the heat content. Not only is that warm water, that's warm water that goes substantially down below. So as it churns it up, it's just going to bring up more warm water. Now, Helene did cool the waters temporarily, but not enough. This time of year, they're still conducive for a hurricane to form. And over the last few days, they have relatively warmed up back behind Helene. But the waves, I mentioned the surge at the beginning, super dangerous stuff. You could see the seas here really building today and just blossoming as we work our way out in time. This is meters, this is feet. This here is Wednesday. Look at that. 6 meters of potential. We're talking in the Gulf of Mexico, which is not super typical. We could have some seas building upwards of 30 feet. That is nuts. That's what the models are showing. That is not typical. I don't want to say normal. I don't know. But that's crazy stuff for just how strong this is. And because it's going to get bigger, that is going to allow those seas to build. And then it is just going to be a mess off the southeast of the U.S. and very high seas in the Bahamas. Now, the Bahamas, while it's not going to directly move in for us in the northern Bahamas, we're looking at some coastal flooding. The seas are going to be up, right? The seas are going to be a mess. And we know what that does. We're looking at some of that water trying to get in, especially as we work our way Thursday and then in particular Friday and even into Saturday. We'll be dealing with some of that overwash, some of the water trying to get in when those seas are elevated. So Kirk is out there, but that thing is falling apart as far as it being a tropical system. I want to show you that though. Still hanging together as a huge wind maker. Leslie is out there making the curve as expected, and we have Milton. Nadine may form. There's a couple areas where the next name on the list, Nadine or even Oscar, may form off the coast of Africa. That is one spot. We're watching a couple more strong tropical waves coming off. There is Leslie. That'll get caught up in the front. This here, while it's losing its tropical characteristics, this is Kirk missing the Azores, but heading its way toward parts of Europe. This here is very, very dangerous, Milton. And then in the Caribbean, as we get down the road, I want to show you where we could see some additional development. Again, that has been the hot spot this season, the Caribbean. So here's the broad picture. Here's what's left of Kirk, but that is a huge system up for our friends in Europe. Again, definitely different from what we're seeing with Milton, but they're going to have all sorts of problems. There is Leslie, just to show you what we're seeing with this. And going out in time, let's take ahead a few days, right? Let's get into the week. I broke this down earlier very carefully, but let's go out in time. Just keep an eye on Bermuda. You can see again watching a disturbance nearby. Here's Leslie, which will hook off in what's left of Kirk that has moved up toward parts of Europe. But here's what will be left of Milton near Bermuda by the time we get into the 11th. This is the 12th, so a week from now. So still a wait and see on some eventual impacts in Bermuda. But to draw your attention to something else, October has been historically busy for the tropics. This based on what we've seen over the last, I would say, about 100 years of records. But a lot of rain is going to build again in the Caribbean about a week and a half from now to 2 weeks from now. No, about a week from now. That's the 13th. So about a week from now or so. And we're going to see tons of action building here, and it's going to be a wait and see. Does something else develop in the Caribbean? That is a possibility. So if you're in Jamaica, we're in Jamaica, Cayman Islands. I'm watching that over towards Central America to see if anything else flares up. Here's Kirk. It's losing its tropical characteristics, but rolling right into France as a big wind maker as we go over the next few days. And there is Leslie, and that'll make its curve to the east of Bermuda by a good measure. But there is Milton. All eyes on that. A dangerous, life-threatening situation where there's winds gusting upwards of 200 in that as of now. And I've been watching us over toward Barbados, Antigua, and Barbuda. We've had some serious weather around the last few days, not with an organized system in the Eastern Caribbean, but it's been active. We're going to watch out for some more pockets of active weather. Keep me posted in the comments if you do get any flooding. Trinidad and Tobago, watching out for some batches of rain at times. Here's Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, scattered areas of rain and storms for Jamaica. There goes Milton right there. So this is taking you through our Tuesday. And then as we get into a Wednesday, you can see here, again, we'll jump over into a Wednesday, just staying to the north of, you can see here's Western Cuba, to the north of Western Cuba. But you see these pockets of rain that will be moving by and kind of flaring up again. That's why I mentioned over toward Trinidad. We do have a chance of some flooding, St. Vincent the Grenadines, Grenada, isolated areas of flooding. We saw that in some spots in Barbados yesterday. Now, as far as the rain goes, with Milton that will be working in, we're looking at rain in parts of Florida, additional rain with Milton, 5 to 10 inches of rain. But out ahead of it, there's already been a few inches of rain. Heaviest core of rain will stay just offshore of the Yucatan. Elsewhere, it's scattered showers and storms. Jamaica, Cayman Islands, parts of Cuba, Haiti, Turks and Caicos, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. We may get a couple of thunderstorms popping up, but a little more active Antigua and Barbuda, South, Dominica, Guadeloupe, hit or miss shower that could give us 50 millimeters of rain or 2 inches of rain. But St. Vincent the Grenadines, Grenada, even St. Lucia, Trinidad and Barbados, some pockets are going to see some substantial rain over the next few days, where we could get a few spots of 75 millimeters to 100 millimeters of rain, or 3 to 4 inches of rain. Drier in Suriname, could see a few showers, Guyana, northeastern Venezuela, and watching out for some pockets of rain, Panama, Costa Rica, back through Guatemala over the next few days. Mexico City to the north, drier, especially back through Texas. So some scattered showers and storms in Jamaica, 40 to 50% chance. Cayman Islands, we're not going to have a lot the next couple days, 20% chance. But as we work our way toward Trinidad and Tobago, not rain all day, but it's going to be an unsettled pattern. So we're going to monitor that risk of flooding and watch out where some of those downpours could set up. Same thing as we get into Barbados, active period, scattered areas of rain and storms as we get back through St. Lucia, scattered areas of rain and storms, Grenada, and again over towards St. Vincent the Grenadines. Tomorrow and Wednesday, the rain chance is at 60%, 40 to 50% chance in Martinique, rain chance 40% tomorrow in Dominica, and a 50% chance on Wednesday, and about a 50% chance the next couple of days in Guadeloupe. Antigua and Barbuda, rain chance 40 to 50%. We may not get rain at times, but if we do, we could see a stronger thunderstorm, 40 to 50% chance, St. Kitts Nevis in Montserrat, 30% chance for the rest of today in Guilla and St. Bart's, 50% chance for tomorrow, and a 40% chance the next few days. St. Martin, Saba, and Statia, rain chance 50% as we work our way into Puerto Rico, some scattered showers and storms, and a 30% chance U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Bahamas, monitoring the northern Bahamas very carefully, got you covered. Thank you for all the comments from the Bahamas. Turks and Caicos, rain chance 30%, 30% as we work our way through the Dominican Republic. Isolated shower or storm possible as we get into Haiti. 20 to 30% chance of a shower or storm in Belize. Everything with Milton is to the north. Aruba, Curacao and Bonaire, rain chance at about 20 to 30% as we go over the next 3 days. Rain chance has gone down in Guyana, about a 30% chance, and it's going down in Suriname, mainly dry conditions. Small chance of a shower. Keeping an eye on a few scattered showers and storms, and monitoring the western end of Cuba, Costa Rica, Panama, rain chance 60%, 40% chance as we get back through Nicaragua. Looking at a 30 to 40% chance in the next 3 days in Honduras. Rain chance will pick up some tomorrow in Guatemala and El Salvador, 60% chance. And you see the rain chance starting to drop off in Mexico City, getting a bit drier. Yucatan Peninsula, I highlighted that right at the beginning of the video. Extreme northern sections getting brushed by some hurricane wind gusts over the next 24 hours. Northern Colombia, 50 to 60% chance. Northern Venezuela, 40% chance. And a lot of question marks with Bermuda. I need to see kind of what happens with Milton as it works offshore and a couple other disturbances nearby. Rain chance, though, on Wednesday does look higher. Some of that rain coming out of Florida looks like something could try to spin up. So Milton marches to the east in the Gulf of Mexico. Major impacts ahead. Kirk and Leslie out there watching some of the tropical rain pulling back toward parts of the Eastern Caribbean. And then, as I hinted, down the road, monitoring the Caribbean, especially Western Caribbean, for rain building up again, where we could see something trying to develop once again by the time we get into the middle of the month. So this active period just continues to roll on. But watching everything carefully in Mexico, monitoring that. West coast of Florida, keeping an eye on that. Keep me posted in the comments on how you're doing. We are thinking of you as you make those hurricane preparations. WFTV.com is a good resource. Central Florida for county by county stuff. Watching the Bahamas, of course, northern Bahamas, and monitoring Bermuda. So much to cover. I thank you for your trust as we continue to track Milton together. It's a weather community, so put your comments, what you're getting, what you're not getting, do so safely, and all of us will get to those comments as we go throughout the day. I hope you're doing okay. We're thinking of you as you make those preps. Have a good and safe rest of your day.